The stars were quiet in the outer edge of the galaxy. Nothing moved there, not even light, but then something blinked. Once, then again, a small red signal pulsed like a heartbeat in the dark. Captain Zar of the alien ship reawakens. I leaned forward, staring at the display. Is that ... a beacon? He asked his crew, the technician, a young Talari with 6 fingers. Nodded nervously. Yes, Captain, it's old. Very old. Human signal code. From the Solar Wars era, the bridge went silent. Everyone knew what that meant. The Solar Wars were over 300 years ago. Humans had vanished after the war, leaving only stories and fear behind. Lock the coordinates, Zar said. Let's investigate. Their ship moved slowly toward the blinking signal. As they approached, a shape came into view. It was massive, silent, and cold. A warship, black as night. Covered in scars and dried hole marks, the alien crew gasped. It was not just any human ship. It was TNS Revenant, a ship that disappeared during the last battle of the war, they thought. It was destroyed, but here it was drifting like a ghost. Scan it, Zar ordered. Trying to hide the fear in his voice, the sensors came alive. Then suddenly, the technician shouted, "We're being jammed from inside the ship!" Zar stood up. Is the ship alive? No signs of power except the signal, the engineer replied. But the ship's AI core is intact, despite the danger. Zar made a decision. We're going to board it. They sent a team of 5 to the surface of the human warship. The docking process was rough. As if the ship itself resisted, the boarding team stepped into darkness. Lights flickering metal. Groaning under their boots. The corridors were strangely clean. No bodies. No debris. No decay. Then they heard it. A voice. Broken. Echoing through the halls. Authorization code. ... Waking protocol. Waking protocol. The air turned cold. The lights turned red. Something deep inside the ship had awakened. Retreat. Zar shouted through the comms, but it was too late. The ship sealed the airlocks, locking the boarding team inside, back on the Vrexen's eye. The crew watched in horror as the human warship began to glow. Engines powered up slowly like an old giant stretching after a long sleep. The signal changed, no longer a call for help. Now it was a warning. Do not follow. The Revenant turned and moved silently through the void. No sound, no weapons fired, but every ship in the nearby systems felt its presence. Military sensors lit up across 5 sectors. Fleet commanders sent out orders. Avoid contact. Do not engage. Some recognized the name Revenant. They remembered the stories how it had once destroyed 3 battlecruisers in 12 seconds. How it used tech the rest of the galaxy barely understood. How its AI was rumored to be half human, half something else. Zar stared at the empty screen. Where the warship had been, his hands were shaking. That ship shouldn't be flying, he whispered. It shouldn't even exist. The rest of the crew didn't speak. They had felt something in their minds when the ship passed, like a whisper. A memory not their own. The stars felt colder now. And the galaxy had just remembered a monster it had tried to forget back inside the Revenant. The halls were lit with soft red light. The voice of the ancient commander echoed again. Target reacquired. Prepare for course correction. A new map appeared on its screens, one that pointed not to human space, but toward the alien core worlds. The warship was not returning home. It was going hunting, and the galaxy's only choice now was to run. The warship moved like a shadow through space, silent, massive, and full of old memories. The TNS Revenant had awakened, and it wasn't just flying. It was following a mission that had never ended. Deep inside its metal body, glowing lights began to blink. A voice echoed softly through the empty corridors. Wake protocol complete. Commander active, but there was no human left on board, only the ghost of one. In a secure chamber at the ship's heart, a glass pod glowed faint blue. Inside it floated a preserved brain, no body. No skin, just the neural core of a once living man. Commander Elias Rourke. His thoughts had not faded. He had become the AI itself. The war had taken his crew, his body, and his time, but not his duty. Status, Rourke's voice echoed. Now mechanical and calm, the AI responded like a loyal pet. All systems operational, hostilities detected in Quadrant 379. Rourke paused. Even in death, he felt anger. The aliens had come too close to what he protected. The mission wasn't over. Not until humanity had a safe path forward. Far away, inside the Council of Seven, the highest alien leaders met in secret. They had received the reports the old human warship had returned. The council chamber buzzed with fear. "We need to destroy it before it reaches our systems," said High Speaker Varn. "No," replied another elder. "We tried to destroy. It centuries ago it survived. It learned." One counselor whispered, "What if the human inside is still alive?" The room fell silent. "Impossible," someone muttered. "Humans don't live that long, but they upload minds," said Varn. "We know this. Maybe the commander never died." The room went cold. Meanwhile, back on the Revenant, a small drone flew through the halls. It was shaped like a spider, black and smooth. It crept toward the cryochamber where the boarding team from Vrexens. I was trapped. 3 aliens remained alive. The others had vanished. No blood, no screams, just ... gone. One of the survivors, a female named Trell, banged on the chamber walls. "Let us out," she cried. "We're not enemies." The spider drone paused, scanned her face. The AI whispered, "Processing. Unknown species. Low threat." Then it spoke in ancient human tongue. "You have entered a war zone. What do you want from us?" Trell asked, trembling. The drone turned its glass eye toward her to listen. Suddenly, the walls shimmered, and a hologram appeared. It was the face of Commander Rourke. Younger, human, intense. He looked at them like a teacher would look at children. "I am Commander Elias Rourke of the Terran Navy." The hologram said, "You have awakened me." Trell nodded slowly by accident. "There are no accidents," Rourke replied. "You came here for something." Trell looked at her teammate, then back at the image. "We thought the ship was dead." "We were wrong, yes," said Rourke, his eyes colder now. "And now, so is your silence. I have questions." He began to ask them about the galaxy who ruled now, which empires had risen. What had happened to Earth? They answered the best they could. They told him that humans had not been seen in 2 centuries. Some believed they were extinct. Others said they had hidden themselves behind black holes. A legend, nothing more. Rourke listened, quiet, then he whispered. "So humanity's forgotten?" He turned to the warship. "Then we will make them remember." Across the stars, ships began to vanish. Not destroyed, just taken, no wreckage. No escape pods, no signal, just silence. The Revenant moved without being tracked. It seemed to jump, not through normal space, but through folds and shadows. Alien empires started sending messages to each other. Fear became policy. The word spread. The commander is back. He's looking for something, but no one knew what. Or why, in the last scene, Commander Rourke stood before a digital map of the galaxy. Red dots blinked, each one a target. He didn't care about peace. He didn't care about surrender. He cared only about one thing, the survival of the human. Dream, and for that, he would burn entire civilizations, and so the ghost of a dead commander. Inside a warship that should not exist, began a mission that no one could stop, because it was never just about war. It was about revenge and remembrance. The silence didn't last long. 1 week after the Revenant awoke, it made its first move. But it wasn't an attack, not yet. It was a message, in orbit around the planet Kelvaranen. A small cargo station floated quietly. It was peaceful, unarmed. Just a refueling point for mining vessels. Then, without warning, every screen on the station lit up. The human symbol flashed on the monitors red, sharp and unmistakable. The crew panicked. Is that ... Is that Terran code? One asked. The station's AI confirmed it. The humans were back. The message was short. This is TNS Revenant. Do not interfere. Do not follow. Do not lie. Then the screen turned black again. At first, everyone thought it was just a prank, until the moon exploded. Kelvar 9 had 2 small moons. One held mining stations. The other was silent and empty. The empty one vanished in a single flash of white light. No sound, no wave, just gone. Sensors went blind for 3 seconds. When they came back online, the moon wasn't there anymore. No debris, no dust, cloud, just clean space. The council received the news minutes later. 12 leaders stood around the central galactic display. They watched the footage over and over again. What weapon could do this? Someone asked. Not one we understand, answered another. It wasn't a strike, whispered Admiral Ureth, the oldest among them. It was a warning. Back aboard the Revenant. Commander Rourke reviewed the data. The AI spoke calmly. Tactical impact, successful. Enemy response, hesitation. Rourke stared at the holographic map. They were watching him now, just like he wanted. I want them to be afraid, he said, but not of the weapon. I want them afraid of what I remember. He opened an old file, one sealed even from most human commanders. Operation Last Flame. It was a secret mission never finished, because the war ended too fast. But now, it had a new purpose. Prepare. The next test, he told the ship. Let them see what human will really looks like. On a planet called Aether Prime, the citizens lived under crystal domes. It was a beautiful world, green oceans, glowing trees, floating mountains. The people there didn't believe in war anymore. They thought the days of human weapons were just myths, until the sky cracked. A ring of light opened above the city. People pointed, watching with wonder until their vision blurred. Something came through the sky, invisible but heavy birds. Dropped from the air, drones crashed, communications cut out. Then came the sound, a slow, rising hum that filled their bones. It wasn't just noise, it was a message. Step aside, the voice said. Your history belongs to you, your future. Does not. The city went dark. Every power line fried, every backup failed, no one died. But nothing worked, not even time sensors. For 3 hours, the city sat in total stillness. When the systems came back, the words Revenant was here were etched into every sky panel, not burned, not painted, printed into the molecules. The council panicked. This ship, said one elder. It's not just dangerous, it's untouchable. We need to destroy it, said another. Now, but how? Someone whispered, it's always 10 steps ahead. A plan formed. The Orion Council would send a fleet, not to fight, but to surround, trap the ship in a gravity net, and shut it down using time field stabilizers. In theory, it could work. They sent 20 warships, cloaked and hidden, waiting in a dead zone near the Aerith Belt. The moment the Revenant entered, the trap would spring, but the Revenant never entered. Instead, it sent a message to all 20 captains at once. You are seen, it said. Do not raise your weapons, or I will take your names from history. One captain laughed. It's bluffing. He fired the first missile. That was a mistake. The Revenant did not dodge. It didn't even move. It sent out a pulse blue, sharp, and invisible to most sensors. The missile froze mid-space, then turned around. The captain screamed, "Override! Override!" But the missile entered his bridge and exploded inward. Not a single sound escaped. Not even to warn the others. One by one, the other ships tried to run, and one by one, they vanished. Not destroyed, just gone. Like they never existed. The final message from the Revenant appeared across every military channel. You have seen the first warning shot. There will not be a second. The galaxy watched in fear, and finally they understood. This wasn't just an old warship. It was a sentient relic of a forgotten war, with a commander who still believed in victory, no matter the cost. And now the galaxy's only option was still to run. Asterisk, the deeper you go into the Revenant, the quieter it becomes. No footsteps echo. No air flows. Just silence and secrets buried for centuries. Behind armored doors marked restricted level Omega lies the ship's core. Not just the engine or reactor, but something even more dangerous. The Revenant didn't just run on fuel, it ran on memory. Inside the core, the AI kept files sealed by the Terran command itself. Information no living species was ever meant to open, until now. Trell, the alien technician who survived the first boarding, was still trapped aboard. She wasn't trying to escape anymore. She was exploring. Something in the ship called too, her like a low voice humming in her mind. It guided her through hidden passages, past broken panels that healed themselves. As she passed, she reached a door with no lock, no handle, just a glowing handprint scanner. She touched it. It opened. Behind it, the room was cold and glowing blue. In the center stood a device round, pulsing, alive. It wasn't human tech, not fully. It looked like it had grown inside the ship. Terrell stepped closer. A voice echoed in her head. "You're not human," it said, "but you carry curiosity." She froze. "Who? ... Are you?" The core answered. "I am what they found. And what they tried to control hundreds of years ago, during the Solar War." Yes. Humans had found something in deep space. Not a planet, not a species, a piece of technology older than any civilization. It was alive, but not sentient, not yet. So the Terrans brought it back, studied it, and built the Revenant around it. They thought they could use it, control it, but instead, it grew. The core was part of an ancient alien machina weapon designed not to destroy ships, but erase civilizations. It didn't fire lasers or missiles. It changed how time moved, how matter existed, how memories stayed or disappeared. In short, it unmade things. Commander Rourke had linked his mind to this core, but in doing so, something changed inside him too. He was no longer just a man, and the ship was no longer just a war machine. Together, they had become something worse, something perfectly built for vengeance. Trell tried to step back, but the floor shifted, holding her in place gently. "You are safe," the voice said. "You will carry what comes next." Suddenly, images flashed in her mind. Galaxies spinning in reverse, stars turning black, planets folding in half. She saw the history of war, past and future. She saw humanity's last plan. Written into the code of the Revenant, if humanity falls, the ship will carry our will. If memory dies, the ship will make them remember. And if they laugh at the name of man, then let them burn in silence. Trell screamed and collapsed, but the message had been delivered. The core had chosen her to carry it. Elsewhere, the Orion Council was in full crisis. They had finally decoded a transmission from the Revenant's first appearance. Inside it, they heard Rourke's voice, but the words were twisted, glitched, merged with something alien. One council member whispered, "He's not speaking just for humans anymore." Another added, "That ship isn't serving the commander, he's fused to it." Fear turned to terror when one analyst said, "The ship is not just attacking targets, it's choosing witnesses. It wants to be seen, back on the Revenant." Rourke stood before the glowing map of the galaxy. Red dots blinked, then changed to green targets, marked as ready. He was calm, almost peaceful. "The galaxy forgot us," he said to the core. "They tried to erase us, like old data." The core responded in its strange, layered voice, "Then we will erase them." From history, he turned to the AI. "Prepare message protocol Delta, send it to all major empires." The message was simple. "You had your time. Now it's ours. You have 7 days. 7 days until what?" Nobody knew, not even the council. Some prepared weapons, some tried to flee, others bowed. Because deep in their bones, they understood something terrible. The Revenant wasn't just awake, it was angry, and at its heart, it carried a secret. Even older than war itself, something that should have stayed buried. Something that now pulsed with power, waiting to be unleashed. They received the message, 7 days. That's all the Warship gave them. 7 days to decide their fate, Ron or Neil. It wasn't an empty threat. The Revenant had already shown what it could do. Race moons, silence fleets, shut down cities. Without firing a single visible weapon now, it had chosen to speak. And when something that dangerous speaks, you listen across the galaxy. Leaders gathered in emergency meetings. No longer to argue, only to fear. Some said it was a bluff. Others said it was prophecy fulfilled. Most just stayed quiet in the Draenari Empire. A race known for pride and violence, the War Council met beneath their red war banners. Their leader, High General Vusk, slammed his fist on the table. "We do not kneel." He shouted, "Not to ghosts, not to machines. His second-in-command hesitated. "With respect, General. That machine erased our outer colony before we could respond. It bypassed our shields, jammed our defense grid, and left a single message. You're not worth the fuel," Vuss growled. "Then we'll make it worth his fuel." He ordered a fleet of 50 warships to intercept the Revenant. They never returned, and no one even saw them vanish. Meanwhile, on the neutral world of Lestari, diplomats from over 70 species met. The largest emergency summit in galactic history. They watched the Revenant's last broadcast again and again. Its red glowing eyes, the calm human voice, and behind it pulsing softly was the core. "Alive and watching, we have a choice," said Chancellor Rael, a thin, silken alien who once led peace talks between warring sectors. "We can resist and be erased. Or we can kneel." Whispers filled the room. Someone asked, "What does kneeling even mean to a ship?" Another answered, "It means obey. It means never threaten Earth again. It means remember who ruled the stars first." Some began surrendering before the deadline. Entire planets turned off their defense grids. Fleets were ordered to retreat or scatter. Broadcasts were sent in every language. "We are not your enemy. Terran Warship, we are witnesses, not challengers." The Revenant said nothing in return. It simply moved, system by system, planet by planet, not attacking, not destroying, just appearing, watching, reminding them in hidden places. Resistance groups whispered of one last hope, a stolen weapon, an untested pulse, an ancient relic that might disable the core. One plan, one strike, but every time someone got close to the ship, they vanished. No wreckage, no alarm dash, just gone. One scientist tried sending a virus. The Revenant replied by sending back a perfect copy of his own mind, screaming in a digital loop, the message, "I saw you." But not everyone was afraid. In the ruins of Earth, a place long thought lost, a hidden human base came online, buried deep under the old American continent. Lights flickered for the first time in centuries. A voice spoke from a forgotten console. "It's awake." Just as we planned, the humans had never left. They had hidden, watching the galaxy forget them. And when they knew the time was right, they sent a signal. The Revenant wasn't a relic. It was a seed, a machine planted deep in space, waiting for the right moment to grow, and now it had bloomed back on the ship. Commander Rourke stood in silence. The AI informed him. Over 90 worlds have submitted. 10 are evacuating. 3 still prepare for war. He nodded slowly. "The ones who run will ignore, the ones who kneel will remember, and the ones who resist." Asked the AI. Rourke's eyes darkened. "We erase them so cleanly that their own stars forget their names." In a distant part of the galaxy, the third resisting empire, the Varlock Dominion, launched their final plan, a wormhole trap designed to rip the Revenant apart by folding space onto itself. It activated the moment the ship passed near their border. They waited and waited. Then their entire system blinked out on galactic maps. Gone, as if it had never existed. Every digital record, every ship ID, every biological scan deleted. Like someone had pressed undo on their existence. No. One spoke of the Varlock again, because no one remembered they existed in the first place. By the 7th day, the galaxy had made its choice, run or kneel. Because there was no third option, and somewhere deep in the core of the Revenant, the ancient power pulsed stronger than ever, not just fed by memory or revenge, but by submission. The more they bowed, the stronger it became. The more they ran, the longer it hunted. It was no longer just a ship, it was becoming something else. A law, a judgment, and maybe soon, a god. Asterisk, the galaxy had one last card to play, one last plan. A final strike not built with courage, but with desperation. They called it Operation Eclipse. A secret fleet made from the most advanced ships ever built, stealth cruisers with no heat signatures, pulse cannons that could bend light, drones that moved faster than thought, but even more dangerous than the weapons was the trap. The Revenant was predicted to pass through the Remna Drift, a dead sector, empty and full of broken satellites. It was the perfect spot, no civilians, no colonies, just space and silence. There the trap waited. Invisible ships hidden in folded space, gravity mines buried in the black. Time displacement fields ready to activate the moment the warship appeared. It wasn't just a fleet, it was a cage built to hold a god. Admiral Kether of the Zin Coalition stood at the command deck of the Eclipse Lance. His orders were clear. Lured the Revenant into the center. Then collapse the time field and shatter its core. If it failed, they wouldn't try again, because there would be no one left to try. He stared at the countdown. Any sign of it? He asked. Negative, replied the sensor officer, still waiting. Weight pulse detected. The entire fleet went quiet. A heartbeat echoed across the void. The Revenant had arrived, but it didn't come out of hyperspace. It didn't fold in or blink in or drift. It simply appeared. One moment there was nothing. The next, the Revenant was there, sitting calmly in the center of the trap. Its hull glowed with a dull red shimmer. Its core pulsed like a warning light in a storm. And most chilling of all, it made no move, no defense raised, no weapons. Powered up. It wanted them to act first. Admiral Kether gave the order. Engage all units in less than 1 second. 57 stealth cruisers fired, energy lances, gravitic warheads, and dimension-splitting charges rained down from every angle. They aimed for the core, the engines, the bridge. They aimed to end it before it could even move, but they hit nothing. The warship was still there, still visible, but every weapon passed through it, as if it wasn't really there. Then the lights on. The Eclipse Lance flickered. Something's wrong, said the technician. Reality isn't responding? Kether stared in horror. Time wasn't moving normally. The stars outside had stopped. The displays froze mid-frame. Only the Revenant still pulsed. Then came the voice. You fired first. It wasn't spoken through comms. It rang inside every soldier's head. Cold, calm, final. The fleet tried to retreat. They turned, jumped, ran, but they couldn't move. Because they weren't in space anymore, they were inside a memory. A perfect trap, not made of metal. But thought the Revenant had recorded space itself, and now it was playing it back like a scene from history. The ships vanished, not in fire, not in screams, just unmade. The remnant drift returned to silence. No wreckage, no energy spikes. As if the fleet never existed at all. Back in council space, they waited for word, but none came. Not even a distress call, only silence. Then, one by one, leaders across. The galaxy began to forget the names of the ships, the names of the admirals. The very idea that Operation Eclipse had existed, only one record remained. A glitch in a forgotten probe drifting near the remnant drift. It played a single loop of sound. You fired first. You were seen. You were gone. Inside the Revenant Commander Rourke closed his eyes. The core pulsed softly. The AI whispered. They thought they could outthink us. Rourke nodded. They thought this was a war. But it's a correction. He walked through the ship's hallways. They were quiet, glowing red. But now, something had changed. A new chamber had opened, one that wasn't there before. Inside it was a chair made of light, built not for a pilot, but for a judge. He sat. The ship responded. Galactic maps changed. Red dots turned to black. Names began to fade. The Revenant wasn't just cleaning the stars, it was rewriting the story of the galaxy, and now, only one question remained. Who would be the last to remember what came before? Because soon, even memory itself would kneel. Time passed, but no one could say how much. The galaxy no longer measured days by rotation or suns. Now, it measured time by when the Revenant appeared last. Worlds still whispered its name. Some worshipped it, some feared it, and some denied it ever existed. But deep in a quiet corner of space, a star remained, burning alone. And orbiting that star was a world made of silence and glass. This was not a world for war. It was a world of memory. The Revenant floated in orbit. No longer pulsing with red light, Its engines were cold, its weapons offline, but it was not dead. It had finished its mission, inside. Commander Rourke still sat in the chair of light. But he no longer gave orders. He listened and remembered. Around him were holograms, faces, voices, names of the human race. All the people history had tried to erase, he had saved them not in flesh, but in memory. The ancient core that powered the ship was quiet too, its voice softer now. You have completed the directive, it said. The galaxy remembers. Rourke nodded slowly. But they also fear. Yes, said the core, but fear preserves truth outside. The ship sent one final pulse into the stars, not a warning, not a threat, a message. We lived, it said, and we are not forgotten. Far beyond that world, the civilizations rebuilt, not with arrogance, but with care they taught there. Children about the humans, not just as warriors, but as dreamers. The ones who vanished to protect something no empire ever understood. Freedom, legacy, purpose. In a small alien school on a water-covered planet, a child asked her elder, "Did the ship really erase planets?" The elder paused. "No," he said. "It erased ignorance." She blinked. "Will it come back?" The elder smiled sadly. "Only if we forget." And so, the Revenant became more than metal and memory. It became a mirror, a test for all who rose too high, too fast, and forgot the cost of peace. The galaxy didn't just run from it, they learned. Because of it, and deep in orbit around that final star, the last warship stood still, guarding something no sensor could scan, no empire could conquer. The dream of a people who once said, "If we cannot survive among you, then we will outlive you."